Welcome to episode 29 of ECTEL Bytes. It's the first show for 2025, so thank you for joining us. The show is a production of the Eastern Caribbean Telecommunications Authority, and I'm your host, Coretta Crooks-Charles, ECTEL's Communications and Media Relations Manager. By now, you should know that we use this platform to provide you with information about developments taking place in electronic communications by the Directorate and like-minded organizations. To kick off our first program for the new year, our special guest is none other than the Managing Director of ECTEL, Mr. David Cox. Welcome, Mr. Cox.
Thanks, Coretta. It's a pleasure to be here.
Awesome. So you joined us on the 1st of February, 2024. Looking back on your first year as Managing Director of ECTEL, what are a few of the major accomplishments you and the team have achieved?
Well, let me start by saying I'm really privileged to be working with a fantastic team. I mean, the people who work at ECTEL are some of the best professionals I've ever had the joy of working with, and they're just an amazing group of people. And it's a real privilege to be working with them and to be part of that incredible group of committed professionals. I think we should be incredibly proud of what we've achieved last year. So on the operational side, we are looking to really improve operational excellence. We're trying to make ECTEL the most efficient, most robust, most administratively easy organization to deal with. And we're investing heavily in a number of things that's going to help us achieve that goal. We're not there yet, but we're on that journey. So we've invested heavily in looking at our budgets and making sure that we have the right budgeting for the task we need to accomplish. We've done some restructuring in order to make sure we have the right skills and right skill sets, the right people in place to help us provide the best possible advice. And we've focused on getting a strategic plan going, which is really important. ECTEL doesn't have a strategic plan. Every institution of its kind really needs to have a good strategic plan. So we're right now in the process of getting the strategic plan actually done. And last year was about the necessary preparatory steps that we needed to get that going. And then on the regulatory side, we're doing some really interesting things which I think are going to pay real dividends for consumers down the line. We're focusing heavily on quality of service to develop some regulation, some reasonable and very effective regulation around quality of service. We recognize this is a major preoccupation for consumers, and ECTEL wants to ensure that consumers are getting a fair service for the hard-earned money that they're paying. So we really want to work with operators to develop some regime, put some rules in place that's going to make sure that consumers are getting a fair shake, and that when consumers don't get what they're paying for, there's some recourse, and also that helps to prompt operators to make the right kinds of investments to ensure that they're providing the best service possible. Now it's technology, things break. There are things that are completely out of control of the operator. Software is glitchy, and there are always going to be problems. So the commitment from ECTEL is not that everyone is always going to get the best service at all times. There are natural disasters, there are storms, there are things that happen that impact the networks and that are really outside of the control of the operators. But those things aside, if you contract for a service and you want a reliable internet supply, you should get a reliable internet supply. When you have a problem with that internet supply, you should be able to get in touch with someone easily and to have that problem fixed in a reasonable period of time. So we're really focused on that on the regulatory side. And then we're doing some fantastic work with the World Bank and the OECS and other regional institutions in which we're looking to revise and review ECTEL's entire regulatory framework. And we're focused on looking at a sort of route to stem review of ECTEL's regulatory and legislative framework, to revise that, to make sure that we are keeping pace with the changes in technology. But we're also focused on things like resilience. Resilience is usually important for us as a region. Resilience is usually important for us in the Eastern Caribbean. Grenada was devastated by Category 5 storm last year. which is, had devastating impacts in Carriacou and PT Martinique, and they're still recovering. And that's something that all of our member states face on an annual basis. Category 5 or Category 4, even a Category 3 storm can cause massive damage that can cause massive dislocation and impact communications. So we're going to be laser focused over the next year or two on trying to figure out how can we work with operators to provide the most resilient networks. And again, the goal isn't perfection, because that will never happen in a disaster-prone region like ours. But the goal is to make sure that we get those investments made to improve our resilience, so that during a storm, there is a greater likelihood that, one, the damage to the network is reduced later on, and that, more importantly, people can access emergency services when they actually need it. And that's really the key thing. During a storm and immediately after, people need to be able to reach their families. They need to be able to reach the police. They need to be able to call for an ambulance in case something horrible has occurred. And we're relying on those networks to be able to provide those services. So those are two areas that ECTEL is really focused on, and it's going to take some time for us to develop the right rules that are right for the operators, because we want to make sure that they're continuing to invest. We need that investment because it creates jobs. It helps to ground the economy, make the economy super efficient. And so we need that investment. But on the other hand, we have a duty and responsibility to our consumers and to the governments to make sure that services are provided at a fair price and at fair quality, and also that consumers can feel a sense of assurance when they're facing some hardships nationally.
Okay, thanks for that, Mr. Cox. So you have done quite a bit with the team.
We've had an amazing year,
Yes.
and it was a very short period of time. I joined on the 1st of February, as you know, and I think we hit the ground running. I'm really proud, but we couldn't have done it unless everyone on the team was super committed. And of course, I do need to mention that, we work with the NTRCs. ECTEL is frankly not able to achieve any of the sort of core things that the governments of the region need us to achieve unless we're working closely with the NTRC. So one of my sort of major preoccupations and one of my major objectives is to try to improve the working relationship with our NTRCs to make sure that we're delivering for them. Now, that is an ongoing process. That's always going to take some time, but I think we're headed in the right direction.
Right. Okay, good. So what excites you most about the future of ECTEL, Mr. Cox, and its role in the region's electronic communications landscape?
Well, I'm excited every day when I get to ECTEL. I'm excited to work with the people on this team. I'm excited about just coming into office and figuring out how to solve the challenges that confront us. So the first thing that always makes me smile is looking forward to the people, looking forward to just working with a fantastic, committed team of professionals. But then sort of institutionally, what's really exciting about the future is, I think, hopefully we're moving toward real institutional excellence. We're going to be, we're working on becoming the best sort of regulatory institution in the region of its kind. It's a multinational, multi-stakeholder sort of regulatory institution that's focused on ICTs and broadband. And so I think there's some exciting times ahead. As I said, we're working, to focus on resilience. We're doing a root to stem review of our legislative framework. That's exciting because it's going to lead to profound changes in some of our rules, our laws. We're implementing the Electronic Communications Bill. That's also going to have some massive implications for the technology sector. And so I'm excited to see all of the things that are coming down the line. And then operationally, in order to get ECTEL to where it needs to be, I'm looking forward to the transformation that ECTEL needs to go through. We need to improve the collaboration with the NTRCs. It's I would say fairly good as it is, but there's always room for improvement, and we want to work really closely with them to help them achieve their objectives. They're in the markets, they understand what consumers in their markets are facing, and we need to enable them to do for their consumers what they want to achieve. And that's really our purpose, is to serve them. So that's a high priority. So I'm excited about the opportunities to collaborate there. And then, as I said, there are lots of operational things that we're focused on. We're going to digitize our operations to make sure that we are truly, we're in the field of technology, and that we are, as an institution, leveraging technology to make our work more efficient and more straightforward, more transparent. We're going to improve the way we report on how the countries are doing. And overall, I think the thing about ECTEL, which I've always loved and which has always profoundly moved me ever since it was established, is that, ultimately, and this is something that people don't realize, but ultimately ECTEL is part and parcel of a whole system of institutions set up in the Eastern Caribbean to help improve lives, to reduce poverty, to promote economic efficiency and independence for the region. I mean, that's fundamentally what ECTEL is set up to do. We're set up to make sure that we can reduce the cost of technology, promote investment in ICTs and broadband, in order to make sure that people can get online and get connected and use services more efficiently and just make their lives better. And so I think the potential for us in the next few years to achieve that is amazing. It's outstanding. And I couldn't be prouder to be part of this organization at that time.
Yeah. Thanks. All right, so how do you see ECTEL adapting to the fast-paced changes in technology and digital transformation? You touched on it a bit, but I want to go a little bit deeper.
There's so much going on that ECTEL needs to get involved in. I mean, there are huge developments in AI, and we need to help the governments understand how those developments in artificial intelligence can impact the region, impact their economies. There's cybersecurity challenges that we need to get more involved in, principally to help educate the public. Cybersecurity is less about sort of structures and legislative rules and regulation, although some of that is required, and it's principally about education, making sure that we are all our own individual firewalls, and so we have a huge amount of work to do there. So technology is changing quickly. We're also, the rest of the world is moving on to 5G. We still have 4G LTE in most of the markets. Although we need to be honest, and we need to say that we compare very favorably to other parts of the world, even North America and Europe. The speeds that most people are able to access on their mobile phones and on their laptops, etc., using mobile technology is actually pretty admirable, and the quality of it is actually pretty impressive. So I don't want to suggest that we're so far behind, because that isn't the case. But of course, there are new technologies coming online all of the time, and we need to think about how we can access those technologies so that indeed we don't get left behind by huge swaths of time. But the honest truth is, and we need to put it on the table and face it, that technology is always going to outstrip regulatory containment. It's always going to develop faster, move more quickly than any institution that's created by human beings can manage. So the best we can do is make sure that we're as agile and as nimble as possible. And frankly, the only way to do that is for us to invest in ECTEL institutionally as much as possible. So ECTEL needs the resources to expand, to make sure that we've got the right skill sets, the right experts, the right expertise, in order for us to be able to provide the support that the governments of the countries need. But I think, I'm confident and I'm optimistic that we can do it. We just need to be focused on that objective, that being able to change as an institution is really important, because that change is what allows us to make sure that we stay relevant. And if we don't embrace that change, if we're sort of calcified into one shape or one way of doing things, we're going to get left behind.
All right, so you did mention a bit about working with the NTRCs, but how has the Directorate strengthened its collaboration with contracting states and industry stakeholders under your leadership? You touched on the NTRCs, but there are other organizations.
Yeah, we're trying to make sure that ECTEL is much more visible in the region. So we're participating in a number of different initiatives across the region. We're trying to make sure we have a good working relationship with organizations like the CTU and other regional regulators in a number of fora and a number of different ways. So we're trying to collaborate on things. Spectrum is an area that's that's usually important for us. So that's one way. The other things that we're trying to do is, of course, we're trying to really engage with the countries at a policy level to understand what are their primary concerns, what are their primary policy objectives. We're trying to support, universal service projects where we can to make sure that, again, we're always talking about expanding access and making sure people are getting online. We're trying to work very closely with the NTRCs on enforcement. Enforcement is usually important. And by enforcement, what I mean is, all of the countries issue licenses to various operators, whether it's a radio station or a mobile provider, and we need to make sure that those licenses are adhered to and that spectrum fees are paid, etc. And it's important because, when an operator or a radio station or some entity gets spectrum for them to provide a service, that spectrum is usually valuable. And while they're using it, no other party can use it. And of course, ECTEL and the NTRCs principally really have a huge duty and responsibility to make sure that those services are provided at a high quality and the public can get access to those services. So if there's somebody who's using spectrum that they aren't supposed to be using, that can cause lots of interference and can really degrade the sort of the quality of the service that operators are providing, or it can interfere with your radio, your listening pleasure, your access to news and information, which could be life-saving. So ECTEL and the NTRCs, and again, I have to stress the role of the NTRCs, have this critical role in making sure that people are using spectrum responsibly, legally, and that's why enforcement is so important. So we're focused on enforcement, we're focused on collaboration, we're focused on spectrum, we're focused on trying to improve operational excellence, and we're focused on policy. We really want to be an organization that's relevant for the countries, and the only way to do that is to understand what's important and what are priorities for the countries who are our member states, and then for us to direct our energies in that direction.
Okay. So what steps, if any, has the organization taken to ensure its policies will benefit the citizens across the contracting states, especially in underserved areas? You touched on the Universal Service Fund a bit a while ago.
So, universal service is critically important. And, there we need to be fair and transparent. The universal service is really the primary actors who are driving, universal service projects are the NTRCs. We just support the policy in the background, but the NTRCs are doing a fantastic job across all of the member states. In every member state, there are some really interesting projects which are really beneficial to consumers because they're providing the opportunity for consumers to have access to community access points, community Wi-Fi. We're providing, NTRCs are facilitating Wi-Fi at schools and Wi-Fi at public buildings, and a number of other types of projects are really critical. So universal service is really important, but of course it's only part of the answer. It's only part of the picture. There are, of course, lots of other things that are critical for us to work on, and I think as I explained in my previous answers, we're focused on those things, trying to make sure those things happen.
Right. So we're almost at the end, but as you look ahead, Mr. Cox, are there any personal or professional goals you would like to accomplish in your second year as a managing director of ECTEL?
Well, of course. I mean, we always have specific goals. This year we're really investing in people. So I want to make sure that I have a great team, and I want to make sure that our team is, fairly compensated and fairly treated, and I want to make sure that they have the tools as well for them to be as efficient as possible. So that's, always usually important. I want to make sure that people are engaged, and part of that is that ECTEL needs to change its headquarters so that we can get people back to office full time, because your audience may not be aware that due to circumstances beyond our control, we just need to get into some new headquarters soon. So I'm really excited about that. I'm really excited about getting the team all together, and seeing everyone every day. I can't wait for that to happen. But I'm excited about a number of other things we're doing. We're having huge success with enforcing our licenses and our spectrum authorizations with the help of the NTRCs and the council. And again, that's hugely important for us. We're in the midst of working through the consultancy on the development of our strategic plan, and that strategic plan is going to map out ECTEL's future for the next 5 years. And again, that's incredibly exciting. I'm also excited about the coming year, to be honest, where, as I said, we're going to digitize our operations, improve our reporting, improve how we explain to the public how the sector is performing, and I honestly believe like the best is yet to come. So I'm excited for the future, at least for the next year and a half, and let's see what happens. But I think it's going to be a great era for us, and again, it's all because we have a fantastic team of people working with us.
Okay, so I could work with that as your closing remarks, but I'll ask you anyway. Is there anything else that you did not say that you'd love to say as you wrap up?
Well, I just want to thank you, Coretta, for a fantastic job, and for having me. This has been a great experience. You're doing a great job, and thank you for keeping the flag flying for ECTEL and helping people to understand what we're doing and getting the word out. So I just want to tell you and the team involved, Janelle and Olson, amazing job. Please keep it up. I'm so proud of you guys, and let's chat again soon.
Okay, thank you so much, Mr. Cox. Mr. Cox is Managing Director of ECTEL, and he was our guest for episode 29. So in case you missed it, just rewind and catch it from the beginning. And he shared quite a bit about ECTEL's accomplishment over the year, as well as plans for 2025 and beyond. If you have any questions at all, just feel free to drop them in the comment section and we'll be sure to reply. So apart from being on Facebook, this recording of ECTEL Bytes will also be on YouTube. That's at ECTEL, on Instagram, X, and LinkedIn at ECTEL Authority, and of course on our website, which is www.ectel.int. So please share with your contacts who are not on Facebook. Before we wrap up though, on February 21st, ECTEL convened its 100th meeting of the Board of Directors. To mark this historic milestone, a special video project was produced highlighting the impactful work of the board. Furthermore, the video project was created as a tribute to the late Pearl Lake, ECTEL's dedicated executive assistant, whose contributions were instrumental in shaping these meetings over the years. So if you've not yet watched it, visit any of our social media platforms, even our website, to watch the video in its entirety, and let us know if you recognize anyone from your contracting state. So that's it for episode 29 of ECTEL Bytes. Thanks for joining us, and we hope to see you again virtually next month. I'm your host, Coretta Cook-Strauss, ECTEL's Communications and Media Relations Manager. Thank you for watching, and until next time, do take care and keep safe.